Yo, what's going on, fellas? It's Blitz. Today we're going to be going over our first ever tier list on the channel. I put up a poll about a week ago asking if this would be something y'all would be interested in. And to my surprise, over 85% of y'all said yes. So here we are. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the shooting badges. And we're going to be ranking them into different tiers. And we're also going to be discussing the level of impact that these badges have dependent on your role on the team or your position on the court. And hopefully throughout this whole video, it will give you an idea of what you should be running on your builds, so that way you're ready to shoot the lights out the second you enter that arena. All right, let's get it.
There it is.
Get up! Get up! Come on, kid! Get up! First and foremost, I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. I really appreciate y'all stopping by. Little challenge for you guys. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite shooting badge is before even watching this video. The weirdest shooting badge is going to get a pinned comment down on this video, and I'm also going to tweet it out. So let me know what you guys think is y'all's favorite shooting badge. And speaking of other medias, man, shameless plug coming up. If you enjoy watching actual Pro-Am gameplay, please tune into my Twitch. You can see every game my Pro-Am team, Total Lockdown Mentality, ever plays. It'll be down on the, it'll be at the Twitch. Link will be down in the description. So please, you know, come by, stop by, say what's up. Love chatting back and forth with you guys. Also, at the same time, my TikTok and Twitter links will be down there as well, especially the Twitter. I'm really trying to get that kicked off because most of you know, all of 2K communications-wise is basically run through Twitter and it's run through Discord. So we also have a Discord server, another shameless plug. It's a new TLM takeover Discord server. Me and Jev have partnered up to make a new server. The invite link will be down in the description. If you ever wanted to chat with us more directly or ask us questions, the best way to do that would be to leave a comment on our YouTube videos and then go over to that Discord server and make some noise. And lastly, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe here and go ahead and hit the bell so you know the second I drop a new video. First and foremost, I'm sure many of you have seen my build videos, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have gathered that I like to be really calculated and clear with this type of content. Probably a little too much for some people, but I simply can't help myself, man. So we are going to try to be thorough within this video. I want y'all to kind of know what my analysis is based on. What is my thought process when I'm talking about them? So I'm going to pull back the curtain a bit. Let me just show you what my 3 criteria is for ranking these just to start. And let me stress this, many of you know that this is a Pro-Am channel, so this is more designated for Pro-Am 5v5, and specifically if you're a team trying to rise through the ranks and play in leagues, so that kind of plays into the context and the scope of this as well. So just keep that in mind as we work our way through this. But here's the 3 criteria I have listed that went into the thought process for this tier list. Number 1, any data or statistical concrete evidence that a badge is impactful. That's any, you know, as it says, any statistical evidence we have. I'm gonna try to plug a lot of 2K Labs type of statistics in here. I'll probably throw a few graphics up as I work my way through this, just so y'all can see the raw numbers and things from this angle that I'm using to formulate my thoughts on. So that's number 1, and these are in order of importance. So number 1 will hold the most weight to me. Number 2 is a level of impact on the game when put in its most ideal environment. Now I realize that that's a little bit wordy, a little difficult to understand, so let me simplify that a little more. I'll use an example. So for a badge like Agent 3's, which is predominantly a PG badge, it's practically a must-use PG badge. A little sneak peek into further on in the video, but my final rank, my final tier for that badge is not going to be based on how impactful it is when a center's using it. When a center's using it, I mean, it's hard to even fit that in. I mean, it might be D or C tier, you know, something like that. But for a PG, it's an S tier. So I'm going to be using a level. I'm going to be tiering the badge when it's in its most ideal environment. And for an example like Agent 3's, its most ideal environment is obviously on a PG build. So that's going to be my ending tier list. Now we are going to look at the different roles of what this badge will play into. So I may like throw it around. I may hover over different tiers and talk about what each badge means for different positions, whether it's for a point guard or a spot up or a center, and even the shooting guards. You shooting guards y'all be getting forgotten in a lot of these videos, so I'm not going to forget you guys. I'm also going to throw a little bit of gems in here for you shooting guards and what maybe takes a little more priority over those, but I'm going to make sure to get you guys some information here. So that's what we mean by criteria number 2. Number 3 is personal and team experience. This is just as it said, what I've experienced, what my team has experienced with specific badges. But obviously it's going to be lower on the list. To me, it's really easy to convince yourself, especially this community, it's easy to convince yourself that you have one good game with this badge, one bad game with this badge, and you start thinking, you start making ideas, and you start making judgment calls just based off those 1 or 2 games. That could be due to a lot of different things. That could be due to just different perspectives, and it doesn't really mean anything is concrete, true, or factual. So that's always, in my opinion, personal or team experience is always going to fall below those first 2 points. Those first 2 points are far more important to me. An honorable mention is the badge tier or ability to run the badge considering number of badge points. I'm sure a lot of you know what I mean by that, but some of these badges on this tier list always end up in tier 1. Some of them end up in tier 2, sometimes tier 1, sometimes tier 3. So it just kind of depends what your position is, what your height is, that type of thing. I didn't want to go too much into that because I think that would change the tier list drastically if I were to make a lot of judgments just based on how easy it is to run or how much bang for your buck you're getting for a badge point, or what part or what tier 1, 2, or 3 in your badge loadout it is. So I don't want to put too much emphasis on that, but I will make mention of it here and there. So that is our full tier list criteria moving forward into the tier list. All right, so let's start off hot, man. We're going to go ahead and start with Agent 3. Since we already discussed it, y'all kind of already know my thoughts on it, but this one's real simple to me. It's a real easy call. This one this year for 2K23, it goes straight to S tier. Now, that's very obvious to me. If you played any amount of Pro-Am, you know that your PG being able to shoot is almost a necessity. I don't think I can even say almost. It is a necessity. Your PG has got to be able to shoot, and he's got to be able to shoot at a high level. It's definitely up here, whether you're running pick and roll, whether you're running 5 out, anything under the sun. This badge needs to be on your PG. Now for shooting guards, I think you should run this as well. If you have any touches in a game whatsoever at the shooting guard position, if you have any plays designated for you to have the ball and play make, you should be running this badge also. So now let's kind of discuss the different factors here. I'm also probably going to throw a 2K Labs page up right here so that you can see the numbers on it. You get to really see the percents. You get to see what they advertise, what they suggest. You run it on for different attribute levels. For this badge, for a spot up, if you're a lock or a power forward, or a center that just spots up, I would say this is more probably closer to C tier. Or D, because there's just not many opportunities to use. Not because the badge isn't good, the badge is amazing, but it's about usability, right? It's about how often are you going to be put in positions in a game to use that badge. That's a big deal to me when analyzing these badges is, well, how often is this badge going to come into play? And for you guys, not very often at all. Not very often at all. Should you be taking leaners and fades and this, that, and the other, taking stuff off the dribble? You shouldn't be doing that. Now, if you have a lock like we do, there are specific people in the community that can play lock, that can play power forward, and that can even play center, that are they're just that guy. They're just simply that guy, and they're that good at the game. They're that good at shooters. We have a lock, his name's Juice. We have entire offensive possessions designated around him taking leaners and him having the ball as a lock, so that way he can ISO against a center or a 6'1 PG with no defense, and he's too fast for the bigs to keep up with, and the PGs are too short to guard him. So we have entire plays set up for this guy to go off and get leaners off. So if you're that guy, if you're one of the very few locks and power forwards that can do that type of thing, then yeah, this definitely run this A or S tier. But we're going to finalize this at S tier because this badge is so impactful. It's one of the best badges in the game right now. Definitely use this. Definitely use this. All right, next up we got Amped. Man, I've gone a little bit back and forth on this. I used to think this was a very good badge at the beginning of the year. As more tests came out, as more of the popular YouTubers and the popular creators did more testing on this, I now think it's somewhere around here. Here's what I will say for certain. If you're not the primary ball handler in any facet, if you're not the primary ball handler on your team, this is just D tier for you. This is just D tier. Now, if you're a primary ball handler, I think it could be B or C. So I think I'm going to put it at C because it kind of hovers around the same thing. And technically, it doesn't speed up your shot. So that's tough. Whenever you run out of stamina, your shot slows down tremendously. But if this badge were to speed up your shot, then that might be worth something. But it doesn't. And 2K Labs covers that too. So I just don't think this badge is that good. I don't think it's that viable to run at all. I really don't. But I think for the PGs who are the ones putting up 23s a game and your entire team is hinged on them going crazy, dribbling out of shot clock and putting up a 3, maybe it's B. Maybe. But it's most likely C for everyone, and it's D for everyone else for certain. So I'm going to put it at C because I think D is designated for badges that truly do nothing. And that may surprise some of you, but I'm serious. Some of these badges legitimately do nothing and have no place to be on the Pro-Am court at all whatsoever. But since this badge does technically do something, and it does do something measurable, let's go ahead and put it at C. I feel comfortable with that. Next up is Limitless Range. Fellas, let's not waste any time here, right? And this is obviously an S tier badge. Obviously an S tier badge. I mean, it is just, if you're a PG or a shooting guard, or you sit hash maybe in a 5 out, you run this on as high as possible. That's just the end of the story. You run this on as high as possible, because being able to extend your offense out as far and as deep as the hashes go is an almost irreplaceable tool in a 5 out or a pick and roll offense. It makes the defense cover so much more court, and that's just a great thing to have. It's amazing. Now, obviously, if you are any type of spot up in the corner, I would say run this on low. I mean, this is not for you. Don't waste your badge points on this. There's other stuff to run your badge points on. The situation is not going to arise for you to shoot from Limitless enough to rationalize running this. It's possible. One thought I just had a minute ago was maybe if you are a pick and roll center popper and you pop to the center a lot of catch animations will drag you maybe a little farther than you want to go. So maybe there is a place for you to run this Limitless Range.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
But then you get into the scenario where the honorable mention part of our criteria of, does it make sense for you to use those badge points on that as opposed to other stuff? Does it make sense? I would still say probably not.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
So if you're a spot up, it's down here. But if you're a PG or a shooting guard or anybody that sits hash, it's right there at S tier. Now these next 4 badges, I'm actually going to split them up into pairs because they are kind of like a one versus the other type of deal. So I'm going to go ahead and take Blinders. And I'm going to put Deadeye. And I'm not saying they're A tier. I'm just putting them out there because I'm going to address them both at the same time because I think that these have a potential to be both. And what do I mean by that? Well, they're in different scenarios, they're S tier and A tier. But sometimes you run into scenarios, especially with these builds, where you have to choose one or the other. So we're going to kind of break it down a little bit into what makes the most sense by position and by spot on the court, like the criteria said. So for Blinders, I'm leaning toward S tier because of just how the incredible shots I've seen made with it, game in and game out. This is a crutch badge for PGs who are shooting the ball every play, or shooting the ball really, really often. I think like you're gonna get different benefits from both of these. If you run them at the same time, it's fantastic, but a lot of times you can't. A lot of times these are in the same tier 3 slot, especially for PGs and shooting guards. So sometimes you are forced, because everybody's going to be running Limitless Range. And if you have Agent 3s and you're handling the ball, you want this too. So you're kind of stuck in the position where you have to choose between these two. So here's what I would say. If you're in a scenario where you have to choose between these two, if you're a PG and you run a pick and roll system, I would say Blinders is probably better. Because you're taking a lot more faders off to the side with recovering help coming from your side. If you're a shooting guard, I'm not going to forget you guys. If you guys are a shooting guard and you get a lot of reps with the pick and roll, I would say you should use Blinders more. If you're a shooting guard that's more spot up, you take a lot of your shots just from deep hash, catch and shoot, I would say this would kind of be the tier list for you, where Deadeye is more toward S tier. I think you'd get more value out of S tier. Where do you get the most value from, guys? That's a big question. What badge is more often going to pop up for you and benefit your play style and your team's overall play style? So you got to really think about that. When it comes to spot ups, I don't think it's close. The Deadeye, a lot of times the spot ups can't run these type of badges just because of the badge point, the number of badge points they have. But if you were to choose between blinders and Deadeye would be S tier for you. I mean, that would be really good for you. But blinders, though, I've just seen blinders. In fact, I'm going to show you a clip right now where we're going to look right at this. I mean, just check this out, fellas. I stole this from a short. I know the quality's not great. I stole this from a short from Jev earlier today. But just look at this, bro. This is the power of blinders right here. Look, he's right in his face, fellas. He is right beside him. Look at this. Right next to him when that shot goes off. And green. I think I'm pretty sure that's an open. I can't really see the contest because of where but I'm pretty sure that counted as open, if I remember that game correctly. But anyway, that just gives you a sneak peek of how amazing this badge is. I mean, this badge is it's ridiculous. People can stand right next to you and you'll take wide opens. Next up, we have the pair of catch and shoot and Claymore. This one's also a little bit one versus the other. I'll address the spot ups first. If you're a spot up, I think from a raw numbers standpoint, catch and shoot is better for blinders in general. That's for all positions. Sorry, I know I just said for spot ups. Was that for all? I think catch and shoot is better from a raw number standpoint. Catch and shoot is better. Now, situationally, it might be a different story because a lot of times, especially for the spot ups, catch and shoot's in tier 3, and we have Claymore in tier 1 probably of the badge tiers. So when you look at it from that perspective, but I'll be honest with you, usually the spot ups have enough badge points to run both of these. Even if this is in tier 3, that'll be their one tier 3 badge they get. If they have 16, 17, 18 badge points to run in shooting, they'll run this and Claymore, and that's super good. That's a great decision. I highly suggest that. That's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. It's going to give you the highest percentage to make those corner shots. So I'd probably do something like this for the spot ups. Now, for the two guards or people who sit hash, here's where it gets kind of wonky. It gets a little murky for me because, again, from a raw number standpoint, catch and shoot is better. It's better than Claymore. However, a lot of my judgment is highly dependent on this badge right here, Limitless range. Now, if you are a shooting guard or you are sitting hash in a 5 out, but you're not necessarily 2 guard, you're the 3 or something like that. One thing you got to understand about these two badges specifically is Claymore stacks with Limitless and catch and shoot does not. At least that's the way I've understood the new tests coming out from 2K Labs and some of the other creators. So from that perspective, and usually you can probably afford both if you are a shooter in that part of the offense, you have that number of badge points, but that is something to consider. So I guess my final tiering would probably be something like this, where I'd throw them both in A tier, and I'd have catch and shoot just slightly above blinders, but or slightly above Claymore. But keep in mind, this pairs with Limitless range, and catch and shoot does not. So this is a smaller, Claymore's a smaller overall boost, but it's a smaller overall boost than catch and shoot, but it does link to Limitless range. So that's something to consider whenever you're equipping some of these badges. Next we have a clutch shooter and comeback kid. I'll be honest with you here, man. I feel like these are both kind of C and D tier. You can kind of put them in between if you want. I'm tempted to put them both in C tier just because I think they're tier 1 at every height. Yeah, I'm looking at it on 2K Labs right now. They're tier 1 badges in every single height. So I know there's a couple of us on the team that use clutch shooter as our last badge point. So I think it's good to use that as maybe your last badge point. Throw it. Comeback kid, I don't know, man. The boost on these are both so minimal. I'm not sure it matters. I mean, the boosts on these are so minimal, I almost want to say they do nothing. But anyway, I would say probably go for clutch shooter. I would say clutch shooter over comeback kid, but I mean, this badge, it just doesn't do much. I mean, comeback kid, I don't know, man. I don't necessarily plan on trailing in games a whole lot. I just think there's better places to use your badge points. But maybe either one of those, if you're like a guy who has a last badge point to use it on something, both of these badges are tier 1 for every height. Throw it on one of these. I would probably suggest clutch shooter more than anything. Maybe comeback kid. I don't know. It's really up to y'all. I'm not really sure what I think about these badges. They just don't get used that often. And I think you can make an argument, like if you have 1 or 2 badge points left over and you don't have anywhere else to put them, you can make an argument, honestly, to put them on either one of these. So I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and move this one up. They'll both be in the C tier. All right, moving on to corner specialist badge. It does nothing.
I am dead inside.
No, fellas, I'm serious. It does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. It's not worth your time. Like, it literally has borderline 0 benefit to running it, and it is certainly not worth the badge point to run it. So, I mean, you can check out the 2K Labs. I'll put it up on the screen right now. But sincerely, this is a bad badge this year. Historically, this has been a crutch badge for corner shooters, corner sitters. This year, even if you shoot, every shot you ever shoot is from the corner. I wouldn't say you need to run this. This is not a good badge to run.
This is the worst.
Corner specialist this year is a pretty simple analysis, man. I mean, this is an S tier badge. This is a badge that you put straight up here, just because of like its overall impact is very, very noticeable. It's good. It feels like once you get that green machine popping, it feels like you can't miss sometimes. This is the most impactful I think I've seen green machine in all the years of 2K. I've actually always been of the belief, of course, most of my entire 2K career I've been a spot up shooter, but I've always said green machine is a great additional badge. But to me, it's always been more important, can you make the first 1 or 2? In Comp Pro-Am, if you're a spot-up shooter, you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 threes a game sitting there, and you want to make sure you make the 1, 2, or 3 threes you get in that game. Every shot is very, very important, very special. But this badge this year, I mean, it's so good, and it's tier 2, I believe. It's tier 2 at every single height. Just looked at it on 2K Labs. I'll throw the graphic up there. They suggest throwing it on high as possible. It's a great badge. Definitely run this if you can, and most of you can, so please do. Mini Magician is super situational. I think that it has the potential to be an A, but it also has the potential to be so unused and unuseful in your badge loadout that it could be D tier. I'll be honest with you, every other, I'm trying to think, unless you're some type of center who you have plays designated for you maybe to take mid-ranges or to take fadeaways or something like that, maybe this will be good for you. But I'm going to say pretty confidently that if you're a PG, and especially with the emergence of this new Russell Westbrook moving crossover, a lot of times that mid-range is there for you to take, crab them on your back, and then shoot the shot. So that to me has made it rise up a little bit. I'd say if you're a PG that takes a lot of those shots, and a lot of that is dictated by the way they're playing defense, but if you run a high pick and roll set and you're taking 30 shots a game as a point guard or something like that, something crazy like that, this is probably an A tier badge for you. But I'm going to put it down at B tier because I think it is impactful. I think it's a great badge. Sometimes I even mess around. I have a 6'1 PG, and one of my best shots is a Russell Westbrook crab to the mid-range, have the center sit down by the low block and take that shot. And I love Mini Magician for that. I run it on Gold or Hoff, but that's just me. I'm not an actual PG. I just go and jack around in the rec with my friends. But I'm going to say for Pro-Am, it's probably a good B tier badge for everyone but PGs that are taking an enormous amount of shots. I think it's not useful to you. But for Mini Magician, I'd say it's probably a good B tier badge. Next we have Guard Up, and it does nothing again.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Yeah, fellas, it does nothing. It has no benefit whatsoever. It's a cool badge idea. I probably shouldn't talk about this for the sake of this video being too long, but I will say the idea of Guard Up I think is actually good because it takes away from Ghost Contest, but I think at the highest level of Pro-Am it's actually probably not a good idea, because I think if decent defense is being played and people are in the area to get a contest, with how powerful these other like some of these badges are with Deadeye and blinders and all these other badges, it's so easy for these 6'1 guards to run around everywhere and shoot opens with people right on top of them. So on one hand, I think the badge is a great idea and it's very interesting and unique, but on the other hand, I'm also like, I don't know, is that really good for the game? But anyway, that's a rant for another day. But regardless, no matter what I think about it, the badge doesn't work. It doesn't give you any benefit. Don't run this badge. It's just not useful for anybody on the floor. Now we have slippery off ball. Now, I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot of concrete evidence on this, and I think it's quite overlooked. So this is kind of my little personal plug here. I think this is a B tier badge, even hovering to A tier. The only reason I don't put it in A tier because I'm looking at what these other badges are in A tier and I'm like, it's not quite that impactful. But I think it is B tier. I think it is B tier. Guys, I think this is a useful badge for you to run at every position on the court aside from main ball handler. I think this badge helps you backdoor cuts. I think it helps off ball movement. I think it helps on dexes. I think it, even on the end, if you're an all inside big and you somehow have 1 or 2 shooting badges in that category, throw it on slippery off ball. I promise you'll see a difference on on your roll animations. You'll see a difference on getting bodied up toward the paint on your rolls. I think this is just a fantastic badge in my opinion. I think it's really, really good. It's a really good filler badge where you have some stuff left over and you throw it onto this badge. It's a good one. Now, here's where I'm going to get a lot of people angry with me. I'm about to make a lot of people angry, but this is just really this is my opinion. This is what I think. I think Space Creator for Pro-Am is somewhere hovering between B and D tier.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's somewhere in here, probably C. Now, if you want to discuss the actual benefit you're getting from running this badge, if you want to run this badge on Hall of Fame in any scenario, you're going to get the kind of boost that you'll see from an S and A tier badge. You're going to get that type of boost for sure. But again, we've got to contextualize this in the form of a Pro-Am 5v5 setting. In a Pro-Am 5v5 setting, you often have full teams that are calculated, that are rotating, that understand what their defensive assignments are, and step backs are not going to get as open as you think they are. It's just not step back, spin shots. Again, I've seen single-digit number of players do this. And what I mean is, I can think off the top of my head 2 that I've seen in Pro and 5v5 even attempt and make these, much less someone who goes to it over and over and over again throughout a game. Sid67 comes to mind. He's really the only PG that I see that spams these to an extent where it's successful. And even then, I've seen teams make it unsuccessful. So I just think it's a little bit... I think it's just a little bit of if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, you're kind of sunk type of play style. And for that reason, I think the raw numbers would dictate it's up here. But again, when you put it in the context of a Pro and 5v5, I really think it's more down here. It's probably closer to C tier, in my opinion. And lastly, we got Volume Shooter. I think, again, this is another badge that's really situational, especially in the Pro-Am. I think that the only way this badge is really valuable is if you're one of those main ball handlers, if you're one of those PGs that you're taking 20, 30 shots a game, your team basically 100% relies on you to score 70 to 80% of the points. In that situation, this is probably an A, somewhere between S and B tier, probably an A tier badge. Outside of that, I don't think it has a massive place in the Pro and 5v5. I don't really see a reason that you would run this as anybody else but that person. And even then, usually when you're the main ball handler, I question whether you have the badge points to run this on a high enough level for it to matter. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this on B tier. I think I'm comfortable with that being a spot, but you could put it in A if you wanted to. I'm comfortable with it being in B tier though. All right, boys, here's the finalized version of the tier list, man. Please leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell so you know the second I drop a new video. Please let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Love chatting back and forth with you guys. Let me know if you think one should be higher or lower. Maybe I got one way wrong and everybody thinks something differently. Please let me know, man. I love the discourse. I love going back and forth with you guys. I'm really excited to see what y'all have to say about this tier list. And also, don't forget to tell me what is your favorite shooting badge. And remember, the weirdest shooting badge that I someone's weirdest favorite shooting badge, I'm gonna pin their comment on this YouTube video and I'm gonna screenshot it and I'm gonna tweet it out on my Twitter, so go check out those links down in the description. But anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. Blitz out.
There it is.
Thank you. kid, up! Come on, kid, get up!